Hi, Sonia. It is so wonderful to see you again. We were just chatting before I pressed record. It's been several years now. I think probably three, four, five,
Three
something
or
like that.
four.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And,
it is so nice to see you again.
so great to see you. You've been so impactful in my life. And, your new book, which we're going to talk about today. And the two books that actually led me to you, which are Trust Your Vibes and Ask Your Guides. And I
Yeah.
remember feeling very lost at that time. And I don't even know how I came across the first book. I really don't. I don't know if it was and then the other novel that you wrote about moving to Paris and getting a divorce and everything else. So that's how I found you. But why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners how you got started in this? Because you've been doing this for over 40 years. You're an
Well,
intuitive
actually,
guide. Yeah.
I didn't really have a start. I grew up in a family and I grew up in an environment where our inner senses were the main senses to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And so I just always had my intuition and my vibes turned on, and I was always made very aware of what we call the subtle realms, the guides, angels. It was all part of my world from the beginning. But when I started school, I realized that was not a shared experience.
Right.
And it was
Exactly.
very
And
confusing for me for a while. Like, how can you navigate this world without that kind of insight and help? It would just be like being so, it's such a disadvantage. It just boggled my mind how anybody could feel safe for 30 minutes without having your inner compass moving and your guides helping you and you're dialed into these energetic feedback systems. So I started doing readings, and eventually I just wanted to teach people how to turn on their own, activate their own knowing. And that was my first class was when I was 15.
so your parents instilled this in you.
My
And
mom.
your mom did. My mom too. My mom was
Yeah.
spiritual back then. It was called New Age and everything else. So we were really blessed to have that initially.
Yeah.
Because as you say in your book, and my first book I wrote was Fear versus Faith. Um, the domino effect, and whichever one you're going
Right.
to create a domino effect. And I wrote in my book, and what I was listening in your book this morning, we were both saying the same thing that when we come into this world, we're completely connected to our intuition. Like I've always said,
Right.
ask a child what they want to do. They know. I want to be a
Mhm.
doctor. And they say it with full confidence, right? They're not
Right.
fearful at all. They're fearful of like burning their hand on a stove, things like that, which is, as you talk about in your book, your rational mind, right?
Right.
But most of it is they are being guided by their intuition and their joy. And as,
And their spirit. They're
yes,
listening to their spirit, and then we get taught to listen to others and our ego, which is just the voice of others, and we get very disconnected. And it causes us to go into battle with ourselves.
exactly.
And then you lose your compass in the world. So right now I feel like what's happening is the kind of work we do is the great repair. And
I
it's
love that.
really time to put
Mhm.
full on priority for the great repair because we don't have a predictable world anymore.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And that's why I thought, you know what, it's so timely that I'm having you on the show because and another thing I guessed, I didn't know, but you're an HSP. Now, for myself, I did not realize that until 2 years ago. I went through the dark night of the soul. And in case people don't know what that is, it's your soul basically wants to be recognized. You've shut it down. I was so detached. I was fragmented. I didn't feel safe in my body. I didn't know who I
Mm.
was. I mean, for 2 years, seriously, I went through depression. I went through anxiety. I didn't even want to leave the house. And then I
Wow.
started being guided to this. And then I realized as an empath and an HSP. And for people that don't know, an empath and HSP is a highly sensitive person, and an empath, they've got similarities, but just because you're one doesn't mean you're the other. But for
Right.
me, that was such a relief to learn that, Sonia, because my whole life I got, why are you so sensitive? I remember my
Yeah,
mom.
as if it was a liability instead of that you're using your energies are all awakened.
Exactly. But when you're a child, my mom used to say, Tina, you feel things so deeply. And I was thinking about that the other day. And I'm like, well, if she knew that, why? Now, granted, she had 6 children too. Why didn't she look more into that? But to be honest with you, I don't think they had that back then. I don't think that was.
I'm quite sure that well, I grew up with a mother where being from Romania and having been through the war and a lot of trauma, she didn't have a lot of influence. She was separated from her family when she was 12 in a war evacuation. So and then she lost her hearing. And she said it blissfully helped her not have to listen to anybody and their biases and their their ideas of the way it to be or not be. She would say, "Sorry, I can't hear you. All I
That
can
was
hear
like a
is my
that's like a
spirit."
blessing. And
That's
maybe,
what she said. So she taught us not to listen, to
yes,
hear. And so it was a bit different because and we were all the empaths and HSPs and it was okay. Everybody else was missing it, but I never felt like I had to. I never ever was told in my life to tone it down.
right. Well, because you had that kind of a family, right? So,
Right.
and you were raised
So the
with that.
gift was not that I had any particular wiring that we don't all have. The gift was the environment that cultivated it.
Exactly. And in your book, you also say, or was it on your website? I saw somewhere that you said we're all intuitive beings, every single one of us.
100%. And we actually need to turn on these, what I call your inner senses. There's a whole constellation of them, whether we put them together as sixth sense, but it's really a conscious gut, knowing heart, even the hairs on the back of your neck, your
Yes.
skin, everything. You're being energetically informed.
Yes.
And we need to pay attention to that where we've been trained to ignore it. Now we can't afford that.
Exactly, because you say that people that are checked out, that's what you are
Mm-hmm.
when when you're in your ego. That's when you can be easily taken advantage of, manipulated because you don't have a strong sense of yourself. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Your
and
inner
you
compass isn't turned on. So, plus, we've been taught by the culture to give our power away,
well, you
especially
absolutely
especially women. We've been
yes.
we've been taught that we have to be likable, to be acceptable. We have to be subservient.
Beautiful, to be
Mhm.
sexy, to be almost
Yeah, just
perfect.
basically do what I'll be whatever you want. You will define me. And
Ex-
so women are now really coming back online, right? And it's so exciting to see that women are over that collectively, globally. It's even exciting to see that it's not just an American thing or a Western world thing, it's global.
agree with you when women become maybe middle age or even like in their 30s, but for the younger ones in their 20s with social media, I don't agree. I
But
think
I
it's
just, well, actually, I just read an article saying that teenagers and especially teenage girls are no longer interested in dating.
why is that?
Because they're just not feeling the need for that connection. Now, I do think social media has probably numbed them out, and it is a rite of passage that we need. But even younger are not quite, they're not so male identified or
Yes.
other identified. They're finding different ways to identify themselves, which actually we have to go through a learning curve, but it is exciting to see that at least that old form of
Yes.
is really falling apart.
Is shifting, and people I think are looking for answers because and it's interesting because I lived the majority of my life that way, and
Mhm.
now that I've made the shift and I feel connected with myself, first of all, it is the number one most important thing in the world to me now. And
I agree with that. And I'm so it because what it is you're actually when you're listening to your intuition, you're allowing your most authentic self to guide you.
yes, and before when I was in my ego, like you have said, it's like, who do they want me to be?
Mhm.
Seeking the approval, okay? And you said something like, if that's your number one thing is to seek approval, it's
It's self-betrayal from the beginning.
self-betrayal. Yeah, it's like just trying to identify with other people. But once you do tap in, then you can bring your gifts forward and everything else. So an HSP like you and I, we have to work, I think, extra hard. Like I just know that I've never liked to go out at night. Okay. And when I do,
Mhm.
and the older I get, it's like the noise, everything's, now I
The
realize
noise, that's definitely an HSP trait. I am very much a noise sensitive, and there's so much noise right now. And my
yes.
favorite way to spend time is in silence.
Me too. And I realize I need a lot of downtime. And if I do,
Mhm.
let's say, go out at night, and I realize why it's night. I love to go out to lunches, but at
Yeah,
nighttime, people, if it's 7 or 8 o'clock, people are drinking
they're
and they get
drinking.
louder. I mean,
The
I'm not
restaurants turn up
the
the
music.
music. It's just you
Yes.
get bombarded.
Yes, exactly. And so I've learned to now go, oh, tap into that. I know that I've always felt like I was here to help other people, and
Yes,
so I'm just trying to expand my awareness, but sometimes it can get very overwhelming. What are some of the things that, like, do you have a morning routine, Sonia, that you
I
do?
do. I am a very, very early morning person. I usually wake up around 5 or 5:30.
Hmm.
I like to spend the first hour in meditation, prayer, and what I call listening for the day. I ask for guidance for the day, like
Hmm.
whatever, what should I be aware of, or what would serve me to pay attention to. So I just kind of put myself in that hour. Then I do a little bit of yoga or some stretching and movement because I sit a lot just with my work, or I live in Paris and I'll go for a long walk
Hmm.
as long as
Hmm.
I can. I try to go for at least an hour.
Yes.
And I have my headphones in my phone, but I don't have my phone on. I'm talking to my guides.
Oh,
I'm just having
interesting.
out loud conversations, but it looks to the people around me like I'm talking to someone on the phone.
So
It's one
then
of
you're not disturbed either.
No, I'm just talking to my guides and having conversations, telling my guides about what's on my mind or what I need or how can I serve. And so my mornings are pretty much, I don't want to be around anybody before 10.
That I'm the same way. That I don't take my first call until 10 o'clock. And I get up
Hmm.
anywhere between 6 and 7, depending on how I
Yeah,
slept the
I
night
love
before.
that private time.
I,
It's really
you know,
important to me.
and I think that that is so important because, when I was a single mom since my son was 5.5 months old, now he's 21. But I remember
Wow.
sleeping as late as I could, then rushing and getting in breakfast, then rushing to school. And that's laid out the whole day for me of being
Yeah.
anxious. And I
Yeah.
don't think people understand how important that time to reconnect to yourself
Mhm.
is in the morning because it does lay out the whole day. If you
Yeah.
pick up the phone and you look at your email and it's not a good email or not a good
All of
text,
a sudden your whole nervous system gets electrocuted. So I'm very protective of my morning time. And I'm also very protective of the last hour or two of my night.
of the night, that's what I'd say. I'm not too great about that. Yeah, but yeah, that is, and
I
also,
unplug and I like to write. I
hmm,
like to listen to music, like
yes,
not songs. I like to listen to like classical music or meditation music. Just get out of my head. Get out of the
yes.
day, the head of the day. So those are and I've also become not that social. I mean, I love people, but I don't feel like I need to be around a lot of people.
I hear.
I'm
I
just not
wonder
that
if
social.
that's an HSP thing, though. I wonder if that is because you almost have to drag me out. I
Yeah,
do.
I like to be around people that I know very well, but I'm not that like I've met people that I really like and said to them, do not invite me to a party because you'll be insulted that I don't come. I will
That's
meet you for one-on-one lunch. I'll meet you for two or three people,
right.
but a party, it blows my circuits.
I feel the same. Well, I'm an introvert extrovert. I didn't know you could be both.
Yeah, it's
So
called an ambivert.
ambivert. And I remember reading it said you're secretly happy when the party's canceled or the
Always.
plans are canceled. So,
Unless it's a party of my close friends, then
yes,
then I love it.
yes,
I don't like
exactly.
a party where I meet people. because I want to be with them in a very deep and real way. And you can't do that at a party.
Right. So you don't like small talk.
You have to ice skate, and I'm a deep sea diver, so I'm skating around feeling really rude when
Right. Right.
and
With
if you're a
small
deep sea
talk.
diver at a party, you're cornering someone. So how do you be at a party?
I love that expression. I never heard that before, but yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, that's torture for me just to do small talk for sure.
Yeah.
Um, what about breathing exercises? Do you do those? I find
There's some
that,
very important breath. One of my favorite breath exercises that I use with all my clients and all my students is I have you breathe in, look up and look around. Notice something beautiful that appeals to you. Breathe in through the nose until you're at capacity, and then breathe in a second time.
oh,
Then slowly pull your belly to the spine and exhale like you're blowing out candles. And with it, have the intention that I'm emptying
yes.
everything that I'm holding on to or is holding on to me. It's just a big empty. I have you do that 2 or 3 times. Then I have you imagine that you're breathing from the feet up to the heart, and then
Mm-hmm.
the heart up to the crown. Then you
Right.
open your jaw. Ah, and you slide into the heart like you're going right down a slide, and you land in your heart. And then I say, enjoy the silence.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
So that's a
I'm gonna
big
have to
reset.
try that one breathing in a second time. So I usually breathe
Try
in.
breathe in, and then breathe in a second time. It really de-stresses the body.
And I
Very
also think
quiets
about
the
when I'm
mind.
breathing in all the goodness into my heart, because your heart is the
Yes,
biggest magnetic field in your body, and
right.
releasing anything that doesn't serve me. So, I mean, anybody that's listening does have
Beautiful.
a excited nervous system like HSPs do. I do this religiously for 10 minutes every single morning while I'm
Oh,
listening to
lovely.
I am affirmations, because I have to listen to those every with the binaural beats. Do you ever do that?
Every day. I love it.
Oh,
I love
good.
binaural beats. I just, I'm very, very, very psychic. And that's
Hmm.
just tuned into a lot of channels. And I need to turn all the channels down.
Yes, me too.
I'm good at it. I've got very disciplined and good at it. A good part of my books are about how to turn the channels off.
Which book would you recommend for that, or books?
True Balance, my
True
book True
Balance?
Balance.
Okay, I'm
I
writing
think
that
that's a
down.
very good one. And even Psychic Pathway, the very first book I wrote, emphasized a lot of how to turn things down.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
Because before you turn it all on, you want to know how to regulate and pick and choose and discern.
Yes. Yes.
You don't want to just open all your channels because it's like listening to 10 radio stations at once. You get saturated. So first you learn to up and down, and then you can start to dial into what's important to you and valuable to you and ignore the rest.
Yes, exact. I mean, do you ever like this has been happening quite a bit, and I think it's the collective consciousness, but I'll wake up, let's say it's a Saturday. I don't have clients, I don't have anything pressing to do, but I feel anxious.
Yeah, that is the collective. We're
That's what I
anxious because our world is the vibrational of the planet is changed. The patterning of our lives is disrupted and nothing's predictable. So we are collectively feeling the unknown.
yes.
We're in the middle of creating a new reality as a race, and we're so everybody is feeling afraid because the ego doesn't know what to expect.
Yes.
And then we have the earth changes and the political changes and we have the financial changes. And so wherever we're looking for some stability, it's not there. So
Right.
that's why everyone's waking up at 2 in the morning going dread.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, it's interesting. The definition of faith is believing in something unknown, right?
Right.
Or unseen.
Mhm.
So if we're talking about the fear of the unknown, let's say from the ego and that collectively everything's going on and we don't know what's going to happen, but from a psychic or energetic level,
Well,
we
that's why I'm teaching
lean
people
into
you
that.
can actually do know what's going to happen if you turn on your inner senses. Just your logic brain and your outer senses can't know.
Oh, I
But your
see.
inner senses can follow energy and absolutely can have a sense of whether to proceed or move away or what's grounded and what's not. That's why I feel like the purpose of my life is more now than ever,
Yes.
helping people reawaken this inner tracking that they can energetically interpret what's happening where your ego and your physical senses simply doesn't have the bandwidth to do that.
Right, exactly. And to break this down for anybody that's maybe not following this, there you have your ego and then you have your intuitive self. And your ego
Yeah,
mind,
your
it's your
spirit.
fear-based mindset. It's
Mhm.
the logical mind.
And your ego is actually part of your physical body. When your physical body dies, so does your ego.
Right.
It's not your, but there's a spirit in you, a life force in you that's much greater than any. I mean, you might have you might have an accident, and for example, your brain dead, but if your heart's still beating and you're still breathing, your spirit's still there.
Your spirit's still there. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you
but
know,
your
you would
ego's gone. Even when you're in a coma, your ego's gone. So that just kind of tells you that's not who you are.
that's not who you exactly. And you know, I mean, I remember they would say this is all new age or as you say, woo woo. But as you mentioned, even Einstein said that your intuition is your gift and
Mhm.
that your ego is the servant to that.
And you know what, Tina? Even science now is not calling this woo-woo. In fact, there was a conference in Dubai on emerging talent in business, and they said the number one most important skill to develop right now is your intuition.
Hmm. Yeah,
So science is no longer dismissing it. They're starting to say we have consciousness in every cell in our body, and our hearts are more conscious than our brains, and our stomachs and guts too.
it,
So whatever was the woo-woo of the late night, the late before the 2000s, early 2000s, now even that is no longer the accepted scientific perception. Things are
ex-
changing so
well, with
fast, and now
quantum
it's like if you
physics and
don't listen
everything.
to your gut, you're behind the times.
Why do you think this is not more mainstream media, Sonia?
I actually think that mainstream media is motivated to keep people afraid, and this is
Exactly.
what keeps you
Exactly.
unafraid. So
Exactly.
it's not gonna, the sponsors who want to make money certainly aren't going to be advocating for tools where people will calm down.
Exactly.
Because when you're afraid, you get adrenaline, and adrenaline addicts is an addictive substance in you, so you get addicted to the
Yes.
media, and that's what drives their sales. So they want to keep you coming back fearful. So that's why
And
we've been
so they can control you.
right. So that's why it's been ignored. It's counterproductive to their goals.
Same thing as big pharma.
Yeah.
Why don't they let you know that there's so many natural remedies for all these diseases? Because there's no
But
money.
now people, we have a lot, there's always a good and bad in everything, but with all this access to technology and internet and whatever, people are becoming more informed.
Yes, I agree.
That
I
is
agree.
it, up until the internet and up until social media, we pretty much just were given what we were told was the facts, but
Through the
that's not,
news.
everything's being challenged now, which is really part of the
Uh,
excitement of these times.
I do see that. And I think it's probably the people that I follow on social media. I'm getting more and more of that information, holistic information, because it reads
Yeah.
what you like. You know, how would you say? So, you know, I read something because I get an email for HSPs, and they said one thing that you should do is try and eliminate social media. Well, if that's part of your business, how do you manage social?
I am not interested in social media as something to inform me, but I do use it as a tool to share my message.
Right. Okay. That's how
That's
you do
how
it.
I do it.
You
But
hop
I'm
on
older
and you
than
hop
you.
off. Yeah.
I'm older than you, and I wasn't as saturated with it. So I mean I enjoy communicating through social media, and I think as someone who had to communicate without it, it's a miracle for us
Right.
who want to share our messages and our work. It's a fabulous avenue.
Yeah.
But I'm too busy to be entertained by
No.
social media.
Right, exactly. It's
I,
that's
I
what I
mean,
do.
I just busy myself with writing and creative things and I and going out and looking at the world. So I do know that it is addictive, and I do know that it really got a lot of people addicted during COVID, and especially young people. So we have to get them back in their bodies and back outside.
And that's the other thing is being out in
Mhm.
nature always
Yes,
and movement of the body. So when you
yes.
say when you walk in Paris, okay,
Hmm.
and you put your headsets on and you're talking to your guides, tell me about that because I want first of all, that's when I read your book, Ask Your Guides. That's when I got into it. And I'm like the runners, I use that. The runners, you say
Hmm.
runners, find me a parking spot and um
Those are your practical guides, your go-tos when you need a parking spot. Where are my keys? I'm looking for an apartment. And then you have your healers who might lead you to a good book or what, like you're talking about, with like you're getting on the right channels for how to help keep yourself healthy in a way that works for you. Or you have teacher guides that bring you the books that help you learn about things. And we have our angels who keep us safe and on our path until we fulfill our soul's intentions. So
Yeah, I
we have
wanted
so many guides. It's as busy a guides world as we have people around us in this plane.
now tell us the difference between spiritual guides and angels. There is a
Spirit
difference.
guides are usually souls that have been incarnated and have had human experiences and have learned from them
Okay.
many incarnations often, and they have wisdom to impart, but they it can now impart it from spirit to you rather than going through the physical
Okay.
incarnation again. So you can look at them as mentors and teachers who've walked the path you're on, so they kind of come back to help you. And then angels have not been incarnated in physical human form.
Interesting. So they've never had a human experience.
Those are divine beings.
So you go to both because
Of course.
that was
It's
the
like
other thing that
you have so many helpers. You like the reserve. Like I think the spirit guides come because by them helping you, they help themselves.
yes.
All spiraling up. And the angels are just working for God.
Gotcha. Okay.
God tells them to come take care of us.
Yeah. And the other thing that I realized in the past couple of years was the angel numbers.
Yeah, the angel numbers, but they're also to teach us that the universe is actually quite organized
Yes.
and that this
But
not random and chaotic.
no, so and anybody that doesn't know what angel numbers are, whenever you see repetitive numbers like 222,
That's angel communication.
that's communication. So I always look at, and what's so interesting? I'm just going, is that reticular activity? Because like when you are looking to buy a car, right? I'm going, is that
Mhm.
really? I'm always so questioning.
I don't do that. I don't ever go to my ego to question. I just
So
accept
that's
that
what that is. That's the ego questioning it.
that's totally an ego question because it says if I don't understand this, I'm not sure I'm gonna go with it. And I just don't do that.
Right.
It's not part of my reality.
Yeah, because I see that like all the time. So, another question I had for you was you were talking about like when you listen to your intuition, you should always follow it. Like when you were a child, you had the intuition not to walk a certain way home,
Right.
and you did
And then
anyway, and
I
you
and
got
then I
mangled by a
did. It was
dog.
the first time I decided I was in a quandary. I needed to get home. I
Yeah,
was late.
right.
And so I overrode my intuition, which was the first time I did that. And I was accosted by a rabid dog. And a man saved me. He drove by and saw me just trapped by this dog that was ready to just rip me apart. And I was like 6. And he actually put me in his car and drove me home, which was its own level of crazy too. But I still think he was an angel that came and got me.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, it can incarnate in a body temporarily. But I also say you should always listen to your intuition, but the way to know it's your intuition is to say it out loud. If it's your intuition, your body will relax. And if it's your head and your ego, it'll stay all agitated.
Oh, you just answered my question. So my question was, how do you know if you're being triggered by something that happened before that's being stored in your subconscious mind, or it's your intuition? So
Say
you
it out
just
loud.
say it out loud. So
If it's your intuition, your body will relax.
is this the right thing for me? Your body will
Yeah, your
relax.
body will physically relax. And if it's triggered, whatever, your body will stay agitated.
Thank you, Sonia. Okay, so I
Very
had this
simple.
particular situation in my head and I was just being triggered. I was
Yeah.
just being triggered. It was not my intuition. Okay. So the name of your book is called
Read life accurately.
Read
How to
Life.
recognize and respond to what's really happening.
Right, exactly. Now I want to talk about the two courses, which is so interesting. Out of all the books, the 27 books that you've written, you've decided to do two courses. The two courses are the two books that I read, which are Ask Your Guides and Trust Your Vibes. So
But I actually
somebody
have Read Life too. I mean, I've not just done 2 courses, but those are the two that I really poured because they're so fundamental to your well-being.
Yes, absolutely. So somebody, let's say that this is very new. for
I
them.
would say start with trust your vibes
Trust your
because that
vibes.
really gives you the understanding of how you're biologically wired and you're spiritually designed to be
Yes.
guided.
Yes.
It's sort of like birds have radar and we have our own radar too. And then ask your guides what follow because ask your guides has to do with your support system, that you're never alone.
Yes. Yes.
And
Absolutely.
then read life is that would be the third book of how to apply this to in practical in the moment, whether it's read a person, read a situation, read a place, read an event, read a decision, read yourself. Then you're really learning how to apply this as you move through life in very uncertain times.
Absolutely. And you know what? I will say this. It's like I've been on both sides. I lived most of my life in ego, scared, afraid, didn't trust myself, detached, fragmented, whatever you want to say. And then the minute when I apply this, I get into a flow state. I don't,
Yeah.
if I'm really connected with myself, and what that means, people, is a flow state means you're just moving in from one place, task, whatever it is throughout your day. Like, it's not like I
It
have
means you're not thinking.
you're yeah, you're in flow. Like I think a lot of people and I used to do is compartmentalize my life. It's like
Mhm.
it didn't start till the weekend or until I didn't have to work. So what does that mean? That means 5 days out of the week you're not enjoying your life and you're being
Right.
scared and everything else. So I
I think
think
the circumstances of life are getting so uncomfortable that more and more people are
yes,
reaching a saturation point and they're just saying, I can't do this anymore. I've got to
exactly.
do something different. So I really feel like we are spontaneously coming back more and more to our intuition, and more and more and more and more people are having this happen all at one time. So the collective is shifting really radically. It really
Yes.
is.
Yeah, I think
And
so
it's
too.
very
And
exciting.
I will just say as an HSP because I feel things more deeply. So many times in my life, I was like, this is not a life worth living. And I
Yeah.
did not have extreme uncomfortable circumstances either. But
Mm.
just
Yeah.
for me, just I was like, what's this all about? And that's the beauty of when you connect with your intuition, you get to free your inner child. You get to lick that
You get
person's
to be
sweet.
yourself
You get to be yourself, right? Exactly. And I
and
realized
you
how
live
much.
congruently. You live, there's an inner harmony. You're not battling with yourself. Everything's all harmonious. And so you're more present.
Yes, and that was the other work I did was the inner child because I realized how much I was shushing my inner child, whether it was my teenage child or my 5-year-old that was going, "I'm tired. All you do is work."
Hmm.
I have to be productive all the time. I have to be productive, and that's not the way life's supposed to be. You want to
Right.
enjoy life and freedom.
Well, and I do love that you have discovered by listening to your spirit and working with your guides, your life can be pleasant no matter how unpleasant it was before. The improvement can be pretty quick.
Yeah, it really can. It really can. It's just if you're open to it.
You're
So
right.
I just want to thank you so much, Sonia, because you really were like I would say, I've been studying metaphysics, let's say, since I was 30, but your books really, and then the one where you moved to Paris and you got the divorce. I mean, that was all listening. I mean, how many people would actually do that? I was talking to a friend of mine. She's like, she moved to Paris. You didn't, I don't even think you knew the language, did you?
Well, I did, but it was really quite a guided. I didn't sit and analyze it. It was just like go to Paris. Okay.
Right, exactly. A lot of people might think that would be nice, but they're never gonna
No,
do that.
it was a difficult but correct thing to do because I pulled myself out of the environment that really was causing me so much pain, and coming to Paris, I was able to start over and access even more parts of me that were just not coming forward because of
Mm.
my marriage and the dynamics that I was in. I just didn't want to live in a haunted house. I'd rather live in Paris.
I love that. I want to come see you. But
Good.
okay, so for everybody listening, so the first one would be to take the course Trust
I'd
Your
say trust
Vibes.
your vibes, yes, and then ask your guides. And I am having a course that's coming online next week that you can check out, which is Read Life, which a is a deep immersion in actual practice with me course coming up. So you
Oh,
can
oh,
find that. You just have to email Ryan at Sonia Choquette or or yeah, just email Ryan at Sonia Choquette, because I am guided to do a real deep immersion so people aren't hoping and guessing. They're going to work with me one-on-one and in groups together, so you actually have the feedback and the you get anchored in this higher and deep, clear frequency. And I think that's what brings us relief from being scared and lost, and just keeps you on track. So
Sonia,
it's a
I'm gonna, because I want to join that one. What's it called? What's
called Read Life.
Read Life
Life
course?
accurately. And you can, and it starts April 9th.
Oh
So
my,
you just go to Ryan at
that
Sonia
is
Choquette.
not a coincidence. That is not a coincidence, right?
Yes, I'm so excited about it because I really get to develop with people deeply what's possible. And they're so unbelievably liberated and empowered. It's really rewarding. So that's coming up, and I'm just taking 38 people in the group so I can focus on everybody.
And that's interactive. It's like on Zoom.
Absolutely on Zoom. So you'll work with me, I'll work with you, but you work with each other too.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be, it's really a fabulous
And how
game
long
changer.
of a course is it?
It's 8 90-minute sessions, plus you get there's a recorded part that you can keep referring to, and the booklet and all the things, the addendums, but the immersion is 8 90-minute
Okay,
sessions.
perfect. And it's starting April 9th, you said, right?
Yes, it is. So I'd love
Perfect.
to see you on that.
I would love to see you on that. Okay, so I'm
Great.
gonna email Ryan on that, and where we can get your book. I got it on Audible,
You
but
can get it on Audible, you can get it on Amazon, you can get it at Barnes and Noble, you can get it pretty much Hay House, wherever. It's out there.
perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sonia. It's
You're
always such a
welcome, Tina.
pleasure, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on this course.
Me too. All my love. I'll see you soon, and all my love to everybody listening.
Yes,
Bye, Tina.
bye. Thanks for coming on.
Yes.
Bye. Okay, let's just stop the recording.